Hi guys, welcome to Hither Green TMD no gauge, and today we are weathering this body shell as discussed previously. It's an MM1 shop van body, which is a grounded body van. My airbrush is a Rebel Vario dual action airbrush, and the jar at the bottom does get in the way a little bit, but it's what I'm used to. So what we're going to use is Humbrol Matte 1, which is a primer. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to stir the primer. There'll be a lot of sediment in the bottom. It doesn't get used very often, and could be a little bit lumpy, and we don't want it clogging up the airbrush. So a good stir first is always a must. Okay, so that's probably close enough as what I'm going to get, and I'll put a small amount of this in the jar. I don't need a great deal. And when I mix in, I do it all by eye. I don't measure it out or anything like that. So just a small dollop in the bottom, and then with the thinners I'll sort of try and get a 50-50 mix, and that she's generally about right. Okay, so we'll just pour a bit of enamel thinners in there. So it's about 50-50 roughly, you know. I don't do it that scientifically. We're only, in this case, spraying a grounded body. So you want to stir it, and hopefully it should come out to about the consistency of milk. You can run it up the side of the glass, and you should be able to see it just running down nicely. It doesn't stick as a big blob or just completely wash away. It does leave a trace of the paint on, and it's not stuck to the bottom and all mixed up thoroughly. Okay, so we got the compressor set to about 15 psi on flow. So when you've got the button pressed down and drawn back, the pressure is reading at 15 psi when it's running, and that is generally what I do the majority of my spraying at. And this is where the jar on the bottom of the airbrush gets in the way. So sometimes, like this, a top feed airbrush is beneficial. I haven't got one. I keep looking at getting a replacement for this. It's getting on a bit, and the needle's a bit bent, and but it works, and I like it. But it is due for retiring at some stage, and I'll probably go for a top feed one. That is what I'll be looking at next time. But anyway, we'll carry on just spraying the primer all over the body shell. Okay, the first colour we're applying is some rail match, in this case oily steel colour. I'm going to be applying this to the wood boards on the side of the body. I use silver instead of a brown colour because I find, especially oak, it tends to go a silver colour rather than brown as it ages, and this is an old body. It's not a new plank or new board or anything on it like that. So I'm going to stick with the silver, and again the same consistency, so we'll just get a bit of in the bottom of the jar, and we'll mix it 50-50 with the thinners, and we'll apply it, trying not to get any of the lumps out the bottom. I need a new lid for this jar, and it's sort of getting bits in, so I've not bothered with a filter, but it won't be long, and this paint won't be much use in the airbrush because it will just keep clogging the jet. So you've just got to be aware of that. So anyway, mixing it up again, 50-50 thereabouts with the thinners. Yeah, I've raised up the body with a bit of wood this time just to make it a bit easier at the bottom, so the jar of the airbrush doesn't hit everything as I try to spray in all the panels. Just an overall general silver colour over just the wood. At this stage it doesn't matter because we're going to go over the steel framework shortly with some rusty colours. Of course, because we're just doing this weathering, this rough wagon body, we don't have to go for a perfect even coat all over everything. You're not going to see all of this colour afterwards. A lot of it's going to be hidden by the actual body colour, the green. What we're creating here is the wood layer underneath the paint, of which the paint will peel off of, exposing areas of wood. So like I say, it doesn't have to be accurate or even, just a good general covering. And the same will go for the rust colours. The first brown we got here is a red brown. It's a Tamiya acrylic paint this time, the previous being enamels. And we don't use the enamel thinners obviously for thinning the acrylic paint. What I use is a window glass cleaner. I'll show you shortly. It evaporates quicker than water, so the paint dries quicker and it's less likely to run when you're using it. But again, it's a mix, so you're still looking for the milky consistency when you mix it in the jar. So that way you get a nice even spray. Okay, so now with the first brown colour, we are spraying just the metal here. We're not actually aiming to paint over the wood, although it doesn't matter at this stage. Bit of overspray doesn't matter. We're also not trying again to get a too even coat. We want variety in the rusty shades that we have underneath the paint, so that when we put the salt on and the green later, we get a variation of effect when the rust is showing through. And again, it's all the little bits and pieces, the framework on the body, the hinges. It's just pick out bits and pieces. We're just looking to cover generally rather than an accurate paint job at this stage. Yeah, we'll lift it up, it's a bit easier. A bit awkward trying to spray into all the different corners with it on the turntable, so yeah, bit of freehand, it's easy enough. Okay, so happy with that. So we'll move on to the next colour, the Tamiya Light Brown XF72 acrylic paint. And again, I'm just going to use the jar that we've just used and the airbrush. I'm not going to clean it because it's just a different shade of brown, so it doesn't matter. This is what I use to thin it, the Ajax glass and wipe. Yeah, like I say, it dries quicker and evaporates off faster than water does. So the paint is less likely to run if you use just water. So again, we're just going over the rusty areas, we're just trying to create contrast so it's not all an even shade of brown under here. There's all sorts of different colours you can use, rusty orangey colours, but any two browns will do, just as the main one. We're going to go over again shortly with another colour, but we just want to add different shades so it's not all even. Okay, what I'm going to do now, just as you've got quite a bit of overspray on here, is just re-go over the silver with some more silver, just to fill in the panels, just to lose a bit of the dusting over that we got a bit. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's just to add contrast between the two layers. And now we're going to go over with the brake dust again. So this is the third different shade. We're not going to go over so much of it with this. This being an acrylic again, an enamel this time with enamel thinners. So it's just little areas because it's quite a bright colour. So we're just going to highlight a few corners, bits and pieces, seams between panels, and things that might move. What you also find when you use this colour is it will look bright when you first initially put it on. It will really stand out yellow, but it does fade and blend in a bit as it evaporates and dries off. So pretty much that's about it, just a few little highlighted corners and bolts and areas. Nothing major, nothing over the top with this colour. So now we've got 3 different colours on there that'll show up later. So there we go, that is the airbrushing pretty much done on the body side with the rust and everything. So you can see the different tones as you go around on different parts. Catch it, the light, the silver of the wood stands out differently on each panel, and that's what you want, just a bit of variety so it's not even. This is of course weathering, it's rusty metal and stuff like that. And just to finish off, we're just going to go over the roof with a bit of roof dirt colour, and that is it. Then we'll allow this to dry, and then we can get on with the salt weathering, which is what everyone is here for. This is easy, I like this because this is all just freehand, there's no masking or anything like that. It's just go with the flow, just go where you feel that you want a bit of dirt, a bit of grime, a bit of rust, and you just wing it. There is no set pattern to this, and this is just how you, good way of practicing airbrushing and playing and enjoy it. Okay, so I forgot to press record, I'm on my own, but anyway, you can see here I'll put a little bit of black on some of the boards near the edges with a bit of dry brushing. Plywood tends to rot black along the edges, and it's one way of showing it once we remove the salt later. Again, most of this won't be seen. Right, on with the salt weathering. What you need is a rock salt like this. Took some getting out of our little salt grinder thing that we got. You want to crush it up so you've got varying different sizes in. You want some larger lumps, small lumps. Double O you really need probably smaller than these lumps when you start with, possibly even ordinary salt that you get for your chips. But yeah, you want a bit of variety in size, and you crush it all down. And what you're going to do is simple. You're going to make it wet with a bit of water where you want the rust to be, in the areas that you want. This is just water, plain water, and a brush. Just dab it on and then sprinkle the salt on in various quantities. Now it is at this stage that I realise I should have had a slightly bigger tub so I could get my fingers in. But you get the gist, and we'll just go around and layer on the salt in various places. There is no rhyme or reason to this. You can just put it where you like. It varies wherever you go. You can have heavier layers of salt at the bottom, and it just sticks to the water. So you don't worry about it falling off or getting too much on or whatever. You vary it around. The object of the exercise and the reasoning behind this method of weathering is that you do literally get really varied amounts of rust and paint peel and things like that. Salt really works nicely, and it literally just stops the paint adhering. It acts as a mask, and it just soaks into the water, sticks to where it lays, and you just carry on. It's just as simple as that. Just sprinkle it on, make it wet, sprinkle some more on where you want it, and just repeat until you're happy. And once you're happy with what you got, you just shake off the excess if you want to, little gentle tap, and then we leave it to dry. As you can see, it's varied all over the place. You've got different amount on the panels, on the ends, it's all just different all over. You can't do that manually really practically with mask oil or anything like that. So here we are, we have it dry, and we're now going to mix some matte, in this case a sort of an olive green Humbrol one in the airbrush, and we're just going to spray over the whole wagon, over the salt and everything, and put a good general coat on. It doesn't have to be even again. It's sort of milky, fully mixed in the bottom of the jar, and off we go. Typical, this camera's tripod's in the way again. It's always in the way. It's surprisingly more awkward trying to do this with the camera. Try not to get it on the camera, because overspray on the lens or whatever, I don't want to get any of that on. And yeah, I've got a bit of a run, but if I just leave that for a second on the side, and I'll come back to it in a second, and we'll just lay some more paint, and we should be able to hide the run a bit. Again, it's not overly important on this wagon, so we'll just blend that in below the run to try and draw it down, and yeah, that's gone nicely. So just carry on blowing it all over the body. Again, doesn't matter how even it is, uneven, but you still got rust showing through or whatever. It's just a case of spray over everything. So that's pretty much it. So we'll now let it dry, and once it's dry, we'll wash it off. And here it is, dry. Assisted with the hairdryer, and all you need is a bowl of water and a relatively stiff brush. An old toothbrush will do just as well, and you literally just scrub it in the water, even though it's enamel paints. Because of the salt, it just dissolves in the water that you scrub on, and it lifts the paint off where the salt was laying. You'll be surprised how far it actually spread when it was laying on there, soaking in the water. But you just go around and just keep scrubbing, keep taking it off. So there we have it, as simple as that. So you can now see all the wood, the rust and things through from under the paint. So tomorrow's job will be to highlight bits and pieces with some washes and rust detailing, and that'll be a subject of another little video. So if you have any questions, please ask, drop them in the comments section below. Like and subscribe and share, and I'll catch you next time around. I'll see you later.